What's up guys, it's Lord Bothy here again with another video, and it's time to talk about more Ubisoft L's. Because recently Star Wars Outlaws has released for Ubisoft, and according to several sources, sales are they're not going well. Which is, shocking to me. Shocking that the game that came out with a whole bunch of clips online that looked absolutely awful. Shocking that the game that even gaming journos who are paid shills were struggling to find ways to give this game 7 out of 10s, 3s out of 5s. It's shocking to me that it's not performing well.
I'm shocked.
Let's go ahead and dive into the articles. This article actually comes from one of those shill journalist websites, IGN. It states Ubisoft shares take a hit as analysts predict lower than expected Star Wars Outlaws sales. Ubisoft's share price has fallen following the launch of Star Wars Outlaws, which some analysts have said has come in below expectations. Massive Entertainment's Star Wars Outlaws, the first open-world Star Wars video game, launched on August 27th, and since then Ubisoft share prices have fallen 12.6%, a near 10-year low of 15.22 euros. Ubisoft failed to announce a sales target for Star Wars Outlaws ahead of launch, although it did say it expected the game to boost its earnings. According to Reuters JP Morgan analyst Daniel Kervin, Star Wars Outlaws has struggled to meet our sales expectations despite positive critical reviews. And like I said, IGN was one of those outlets here that gave it a 7 out of 10. And when the shill media is struggling to give your game 7s out of 10s, average scores, things like that, it points that your game, especially a AAA game where there's a lot of incentive for them to be shills on these games, it's not good. It's not something you should pick up. Analysts lowered sales expectations for Outlaws by 2 million units to 5.5 million for the current financial year, which ends in March of 2025. Just a little information here, Black Myth Wukong has already hit 10 million copies sold. So to say that this is conservative selling numbers is saying something, especially for a AAA game with a huge IP that's attached to it. Its development budget was said to be at least 30% higher than that of 2023's Assassin's Creed Mirage, but Twitch data suggests Outlaws is underperforming Mirage by about 15%. Well, that's not good. That's a very roundabout way of saying that Star Wars Outlaws is in a 45% sales hole compared to something like Assassin's Creed Mirage, which came out last year, which, by the way, you didn't hear a big splash about. So my guess is that the numbers weren't incredibly great on that either. The pressure is now on Assassin's Creed Shadows, due out in November, to make a big impact on Ubisoft's bottom line. Ubisoft is expected to report its second quarter earnings at some point in October. I'm sure that will be a fun call with how these games are performing sales-wise. Also, Assassin's Creed Shadows might move the needle a little bit, but probably not going to be as much as they thought, especially with all the controversies surrounding it. Here's another article from The Gamer. Star Wars Outlaws reportedly selling poorly. Star Wars Outlaws hasn't been selling exceptionally well, according to multiple sources. Christopher Dring of Games Industry reports lower than expected physical sales of Star Wars Outlaws in the United Kingdom, 55% lower than that of Star Wars Jedi Survivor, sold during its launch period. Outlaws has sold 15% better than Massive Entertainment's previous release, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. Well, yeah, that's because nobody cared about Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. Because Avatar is honestly a forgettable franchise. People who are going to the Avatar movies are going for the visual spectacle. They're not going for the story or because they really deeply care about these characters and the alien world and the alien creatures that have been built and flexed into lore. They're going just to see the amazing visuals. The way I know this is that every person who I've talked to about Avatar ever doesn't remember a single detail of the story after seeing the movie. So without the massive visual spectacle and just doing a game over Avatar, yeah, the game is not going to perform well. Because it's lacking the number one element that Avatar as a movie depends on to be successful. I've literally watched streamers stream playing Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, and watch their entire chat super chat them to switch to something else, and streamers actually do it because they get enough super chat money that they're like, okay, I'll switch games right now. That's how little people care or want to see this game. So yeah, I would hope that Star Wars Outlaws is doing better than that game. Dring later clarified that the physical numbers are incomplete and should be taken with a grain of salt. Well, yeah, that's because somebody called him and was like, what the hell are you doing, dude? Don't release those numbers. What? You're gonna ruin everything. So he had to step out there and be like, oh, the numbers are not compiled yet, guys. Everybody just take a minute.
Remain calm. All is well.
The digital sales data released at the end of the week will paint a much clearer picture of how well Star Wars Outlaws has performed. Oh yeah, I'm eagerly waiting those numbers. It'll be very interesting to see how the digital download data is for that. They go on here to talk about the stock price falling again, as reported by consultant Dr. Sirkin Toto. That's a fun name to say. This could be because investors are displeased with the sales figures of Ubisoft's recent big release, Star Wars Outlaws. Once again, we won't know for sure until digital sales become public, but investors dumping Ubisoft doesn't look promising. Well, listen, folks. I'm a big believer in where there's smoke, there's fire. And if investors are dumping stock of Ubisoft, and the thing it's rumored that they're blaming it on is poor sales of Ubisoft's recent massive AAA game based on a well-known IP, then I'm inclined to believe that what I'm seeing, this massive stock sell-off, is a result of what's being rumored that they're dropping their stock for. And at the end of the day, if this is a result for that, well, Ubisoft, you get what you paid for. You created a game that we've all seen the clips for. It's a buggy mess. The shills are struggling to shill for it. People don't want to play it. They feel shackled down by having to play this female character who's not made to be even human looking, let alone attractive. There's very little customization, and as an open world, it feels empty from what I've heard. And let's not even get started about the videos of the very shitty AI we've seen in this game. But that's what happens. You create a bad product, and when you create a bad product as a business, if it's bad enough or you have enough of them, you fail. And that seems to be what's happening to Ubisoft right here. They're creating a massively bad product, and they're failing. But those are just my thoughts on all this. If you have your own thoughts, go ahead and leave them in the comments. If you liked this video, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like this video, I appreciate you listening to all of it, and we'll talk to you again later.